Okay, so this is a lab on PGP. I'm Mike Lester. I work for Logical Security. I co-authored a book called Gray Hat Hacking, the Ethical Hacker's Handbook with Sean Harris. And in the module that you should have just gone through, we should have talked a bit about asymmetric encryption and symmetric encryption. And we're going to take a look at PGP here in a moment, and it's a perfect example of a crypto system. It's a system that uses the asymmetric algorithms and the symmetric algorithms all together to encrypt and decrypt data for particular recipients, or users in this case. So I have regular old Outlook Express here, and I have a computer with a Mike account on it. As you can see in Mike's contacts, he has the contact for Sean. So let's just bounce over to another computer here. Here we can see this is the Sean computer, and in the Sean computer we should have an Outlook account created, and we have a contact for Mike. So this is Sean's email, and this is Mike's email. And Mike's going to send an email to Sean. So before we do that, let's just take a look at some of the PGP settings. Now this is the free version of PGP. It's got a lot of the functionality disabled, but for our intents and purposes it works fine. We're just going to demonstrate some encrypting of stuff and then sending it over the wire and decrypting on the other end. So in Mike's PGP desktop, we have a key ring here with the keys that Mike has, right? First of all, Mike has, if you can see this, see how there are two little keys in this little icon in Mike's key ring? Well, that means Mike has both a private and a public key here. If we take a look at the properties, we can probably see it'll say something. See the two little keys there? So Mike has a Mike public and a Mike private key, which is very important. That means Mike can use the private key to both sign stuff that he sends and decrypt stuff that is sent to him, stuff that is sent encrypted for his public key. So Mike has a private key, and if we look at, he also has a key here for Sean. Of course, this is just Sean's public key. Mike wouldn't ever have a copy of Sean's private key. That wouldn't make any sense, right? You only have the public keys of the people you want to send stuff to. So you can tell the difference between the single key or the double key icon. So here we are in Mike's system, and that's the case. If we bounce over to Sean's system, we take a look at her PGP key ring, we should see pretty much the inverse. So let's take a look at that real quick. And as we can see, there's Sean. She has two keys. And we should have Mike's public key. There it is. And there it is. So she can send something to Mike, and Mike can send something to her. So let's go ahead and do it. So let's bounce over back to Mike again. So Mike's going to send an email over to Sean. So let's just say test encrypted email, and I'm going to say okay. Hi Sean, you are cool, but not as cool as me. Yeah, you know it, baby. That's a message Sean is going to love to receive, I can tell you. Oh, we better sign it. Mike. There we go. So, how do we now encrypt this and send it to Sean? Well, the full-blown version of PGP would sort of do this all in the background for you, and it would magically happen. And it has a little proxy that will intercept the email. Once you click the send button here, it'll magically just capture the traffic going out from your system over SMTP and encrypt it for you to the intended recipient. But we're going to do it the old-fashioned way because we have the free version of PGP Desktop installed here. Now, this is just one commercial version. And by the way, you don't need to know any of this for any exam. This is just to sort of teach you how things work. The free version kind of makes you do it all by hand. You could do this from the command line with an open source version, but I think this illustrates it quite well. So I'm going to just say current window encrypt. Click the go button. Now, the PGP software, what it did was it quickly read the current window and found some text box, and then said, okay, Mike, who do you want to send this to? Now, remember, Mike only had two keys on his key ring. He had his own key, and he had the Sean key. So let's send it to Sean. So double click on that, and we'll click the OK button, and bang. It copied the original text in there, encrypted it with a symmetric key, and then encrypted the symmetric key to Sean's public key based on that one little operation we did there. So this is the entire message encrypted just for Sean. And somewhere in here, there's the symmetric key that used to encrypt all this data. Here's the actual text. And one of the lines here will be the actual encrypted symmetric key encrypted with Sean's public key. Now remember, we don't encrypt data with public and private keys. We only encrypt small things like symmetric keys. So this is symmetrically encrypted, probably with AES or something, the asymmetric algorithm. And then the symmetric key, or the session key that was used to encrypt this data, was then encrypted with Sean's public key. So it's just the session key that's really encrypted, just the symmetric key that is used to encrypt the data. We don't encrypt data with public keys or asymmetric algorithms. So that's ready to go. Let's click the go button, and it should fire off over the wire, and hopefully it'll get there if my networking is working, which I concede it may not be. Looks like it's going. All right. So let's pop over to this computer now. Here's Sean's computer. Let's do a send receive real quick and see if she can receive an email. All right, great. There's an email. Oh, and there it is. There's our email in her inbox. And what's she going to do with all this? Great. Well, she's got this, but she can't read it yet. She needs to decrypt this. She needs to use her private key to decrypt the symmetric session key, and then use that session key to decrypt all this data. So let's go back over here. Current window, decrypt. And, So it's saying, okay, the object was encrypted to the following public keys. Sean, that's right, that's the recipient, that's us in this case. Now it's asking us for a passphrase. So to secure the private key material on her desktop, the PGP software requires you to type in a passphrase, and that passphrase they then derive a symmetric key from to encrypt the key material on the hard drive. This is just a way to secure your private key on your hard drive so that if someone were to compromise your computer without knowing your passphrase, they wouldn't be able to get to your private key material, because that's some pretty sensitive stuff. With your private key, they can potentially be you, and they can also decrypt all your emails and all your data. So as a further protection mechanism, PGP requires you to secure your private key with a passphrase, which is really just a symmetric key, or they use that passphrase to derive a symmetric key, and then that's what encrypts the private key. So I'm just going to type in the passphrase. Oh, I guess I got to remember what it is. There we go. And pop. Here is the decrypted message. Hi, Sean, you're cool, but not as cool as me, blah, 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 right? So there it is. And I can copy it to a clipboard. I can paste it somewhere if I need to, whatever. That's just how it works. Great. But now, how does Sean know that this really came from Mike? Well, I mean, yeah, the from field says Mike, but you will learn either in this course or in another one that email spoofing is easier than firing off a command prompt and typing in what you want. It's a very simple thing. So how does she know this really came from me? Let's do another scenario now. Let's go back to Mike again. This time, let's send another message to Sean. Sean, okay, let's say from the real Mike. Hi, Sean. This really is me. And I'm still, cooler than you, baby. Mike. Really? All right. So, where am I going with this? I want Sean to know that this really is Mike, and it's not somebody just spoofing my email address. So how can we do that? Well, because she's got a copy of my public key, I can encrypt and then digitally sign this message with my private key, and she can use my public key to decrypt it to prove that it really must have come from my private key. So, encrypt, in this case, last time we did encrypt, this time we're going to do encrypt and sign. So, last time it asked us only for the recipient's public key This time, let's see what it does. Okay, scanned the current window and said, yep, here's some text. I guess Mike wants me to encrypt it, so I'm going to send this. Now remember, I'm on Mike's machine, so I'm going to send this to Sean. I'm going to double click there, click the OK button, but then it asks us this information, signing key. Remember, I have to sign it with my private key. And anytime you have to access your private key with PGP software, it's going to ask you for this passphrase because it's got to get to that private key material on your hard drive, and it's been locked up or encrypted with that symmetric key. So type in the passphrase, and bang. Now, you'll notice this block looks a little bit bigger. So let's fire this off. Send and receive button, and hopefully they'll get over there in a second or two. Good, looks good. Let's bounce over here, do a send and receive. And there's a new message from Mike, the real Mike, we hope. So let's just click in here to highlight this area so that the PGP software knows what we're talking about. And we'll go here, current window, decrypt and verify. Click this and see what happens. Bang! So now notice what it says here. Instead of just giving us the plain old message, it says PGP signature verification, good signature from Mike at mike.logicalsecurity.com. That means the real owner of this email address, or at least from PGP's perspective. This really was the person who owns the private key associated, and let's bounce over to PGP real quick, associated with this public key that Sean has on her keyring. So remember, this is just the public key portion. Well, whatever this public key's the associated private key must have been used to sign this message that we just received. That's what PGP is essentially telling us. So we know it's from the real Mike, and it came over the wire wonderfully encrypted, and now Sean was able to decrypt it with her private key, and voila, we've got not only confidentiality accounted for, we've provided a confidentiality by encrypting the data, and now we've also got authenticity by performing that digital signature. Now, we can also say we probably got some integrity in there as well, because a digital signature usually involves some kind of hashing as well. So we've got the stuff across the wire in the most secure and coolest way you can. Anyway, that's PGP. That's a quick and dirty way to describe the use of a modern-day crypto system using asymmetric and symmetric algorithms to provide confidentiality and integrity and authenticity.